Hey guys, I thought I'd just jump on and start using this platform a little bit to talk about my mental health, and not in a way that's going to really share the story that's going on for me right now, but I saw a psych the other day, and part of what the psych asked me to do before I see her next on Monday was to create some sort of an anxiety diary. Now, I like to journal, something that I like to do, whether like journaling to process things that have happened, to move forward in directions I want to go in life, or just spitballing ideas, or working out working out what part I've played in certain things, and breaking things down, and looking where like maybe I need to improve on, or things that I need to get better at, or whatever. But in terms of strictly talking about anxiety and how that is going for me in this last little while, and also moving forward to my next session and sessions there on in, is that I thought it might be better to actually just talk a little bit about my anxiety today. So, the doctor at emergency GP, when I had extreme panic attack, obviously listened to what I had to say, said that I was in crisis, that if I go to Maroondah, they're probably going to do the exact same thing, give me medication, but I'm probably and offer me in conjunction seeing a psych or a counsellor or whatever. But I'm probably going to wait 5 to 6 hours in emergency, and because one, I'm not suicidal. Two, I have no thoughts of hurting myself or anyone else. I'm not deemed as a risk in terms of getting a bed in a hospital, which, there's good parts of that and bad parts of that. Good parts of that is the people that need those beds will get them, and someone like me that might be able to get through this scenario keeps those beds for those people. But there's also an element where like it's just very interesting, the mental health sector, that like it's not geared towards prevention, more towards cause. And I'm going off a little bit of track here, but that's just something that I thought about, is that like, there seems to be like help that someone can have, like in my experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I get past that. And I could end up as someone in that state where I'm needing a bed for A, B, C, and D. And I know that's not where I'm at, and so that's totally fine. But just sort of, I did think about that, just like how many people probably haven't got the ability or the knowledge or the years of experience of journaling and meditating and self-soothing and self-regulation, and trying to get your energy levels to a certain point within your nervous system energy back into a regulated state. And not a lot of people have that experience, and so someone could have had the exact same experience that I had the other day, and had the same scenario, but then all of a sudden those panic attacks continue to happen, and they get worse before they get better. So going off a little bit off topic, but my anxiety throughout the day today has probably just been at a constant 7, which, that's gone down from peak 10 or 11 out of 10 in the last few days. Now, that probably has had something to do with the diazepam that I'm taking. There's no shame in needing assistance through medication. I don't have an addictive personality. I've had diazepam once before, when I couldn't control my jaw dysfunction, clenching my teeth in my sleep, and that was creating a scenario where I'd wake up, my face was like cement, and I wasn't able to get high REM sleep, and subsequently I ended up getting glandular fever over a long period of time, and I couldn't manage that, had to wear a mouth guard for a while, but I digress. And so I had one course of that when that happened, and then I got a second course for that, and then the jaw dysfunction started to, I wouldn't say go completely, but it gave me enough of a buffer to be able to then do other practices, um, you know, catching up with a mate every couple of weeks, and that sort of, you know, where the friendship was just more of a, there was no expectations on any of that. It was just us catching up, and then bang, leave, and it was sort of like a really good sort of decompression moment. And then also I started taking my health and wellbeing capsules as well, that I sell through my PT business, my Juice Plus capsules, and obviously fruit, vegetables, and berries. Obviously had properties of helping inflammation and also oxidative stress and all that sort of stuff. And so the fact that I'm back on these, it's not the end of the world. It means that it's able to sort of lower some of those anxieties to the point where they're manageable. Now, when I say my anxieties were all serving across today, is I didn't do any journaling. I didn't walk. I didn't do any door dashing. I was on my phone a lot of the day, and when reels pop up and it evokes memories and that sort of stuff, that can sort of push your anxiety back into that sort of red zone, which obviously didn't happen. But I had a bit of a rest day because I've been mentally and physically exhausted over the last little while. But it was good that I was able to just sit in bed for the majority of the day. I've actually kept down food quite well for the last couple of days, and I feel like I'm getting my appetite back, which is good. But to just do absolutely nothing and know that that is okay to do so, and not then have my anxiety tick over into the 8s and the 9s and the 10s where like panic attacks are starting to happen. And so just if anyone's watching this and is struggling with some mental health issues, feel free to comment. Like, you may never have shared anything with anybody, and the comment section is a safe place. If you share something and some other troll comes on and trolls you or whatever, I'll just instantly remove that comment, because you should be able to freely express how you're feeling. Now, I'm not a psychologist or a counsellor, but I'm always happy to listen to other people's stuff and give you some kindness and some compassion and some love. And so if you are someone that's struggling, feel free to comment your experience with anxiety and stress down in the comment section. But as a guy, like, I guess times are changing a little bit, but also growing up, like, you're sort of taught not to express emotion, or like, as a guy, you're not supposed to be sad, or you're not supposed to be this, or you're not supposed to be that. And then obviously through high school, primary school and high school, I got bullied a fair amount. And like one of the many memories that sticks in my mind is I broke down in class, like bawling my eyes out, and I had a lot of shame and guilt from my peers that were put onto me. And I remember in that moment, I literally built up a wall so high where I'm like, I'm never crying again, ever. And that turned into many problems later on in my life, where I was always hyper focused of being the strong person within people's relationships. They could always count on me that if there was something sad, or there was some grief, or there was this or there was that I would always be the strong person. And as I'm leaning into where I am now, the last couple of years of self-help and self-work, is I've actually been able to be vulnerable in front of other people being vulnerable, and know that that's okay, which is really, really good. But it only came from my staffy Kira passing away from renal failure. Once that happened, that's when I actually allowed myself to feel grief and allow sadness in, and know that that's an okay emotion to process things. And through that experience, I've actually learnt to be able to cry when I've needed to cry, and it has been quite healing in itself to be able to have emotion in that sense. Because I remember when I was 16, I was just literally just, I'm never crying again, never. And that came out in funerals with my uncle, where I may have had sort of like watery eyes, but like I could instantly just then be in control of that and put on a mask, if you will, and be like, no, I need to be strong for my cousin, and I need to be strong for this, and I need to be this for that, and I need to be that for that. And then, you sit there years down the track, and you actually even haven't grieved over someone that you've loved quite dearly. And it's only until the last couple of years where I've really lent into the spiritual side of grieving and past loved ones. And I regularly try to like communicate with past loved ones, and quite often when I do that, they do pop up, signs do pop up the next day or following days of like little bits and pieces where you're just like, yeah, they're watching, or they're here for me, or they're watching over me, or just having that connectiveness of like a positive experience, even if they aren't necessarily talking to you, just being focused on the fact that you have had those meditative discussions through talking to your lost loved ones, and then all of a sudden something will pop up and sort of make you smile or whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. I've gone off a little bit off topic to do with my anxiety for the day, but my anxiety for the day has been where it's been at, and that's totally fine. And I guess, I suppose in the coming weeks, if I can just sort of hover around 7 for most of the time, is I know there'll be a shift where that'll start to trickle down to 6 and 5 and 4, and then I might have a day where it's really bad and it's up at 8, and then all of a sudden it'll go back down, and it'll ebb and flow. And what I do want to say in regards to mental health and healing is it's like, I'm a personal trainer. Weight loss is not linear. It never has been. It never will be. And so when you're healing, something massive, you may have healed, or you may have thought you've healed from a particular scenario, and then something in that scenario is continuing, and that has that can have a scenario or an effect where you get brought back down deeper than you ever have before, and you feel like you're actually at a worse point than what you were when you started healing. But that isn't the case. More often than not, it's not the case. It actually just means you're going deeper into your experience, and depending on where you go from there, well then yes, you can go backwards to the point where you're actually worse off than what you were when you started healing. Or you go further deeper into your experience, and you go, okay, I might need to seek out this type of therapy, or I might need to add these things in my life, or I might need to remove certain things from my life, and be in positive creative control. And so I am feeling a lot more settled within myself. I know with the people that I care about in my life is that I just need to be me and show up for the people I care about in the ways that I'm learning they need from me, and that's okay, and not exactly how I want those things to be or how I want them to look like based on what I think my care, love, and support should be. And that's pretty cool. Like it's that's a pretty cool experience to be able to then go, okay, like how I normally am for people may not necessarily be what works for, and like I learned this in youth work when I was a youth worker, is what one thing worked well with one person one day for their issues or trauma or whatever, may not necessarily work for them the following day. And what works for one person one day may not necessarily work for the person the other person. And so I've sort of been re-humbled in that aspect of remembering that, and knowing that support isn't just a one shoe fits all type scenario. And so yeah, I appreciate anyone who's got to the end of the video, that you've listened to this, and it's been good to get some of my thoughts out. And anyway, I might do this again tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day, and I might do it on I might continue to do it as a thing every so often. So I'll catch you.